I was 16, I experienced some crazy paranormal activity, and I'm going to tell you about it. I started working at a bakery. Before it was a bakery, apparently it was a butcher's. The girls would joke around saying that the place was haunted, that the old butcher was still around, and I obviously took it as a joke. Since having that job, that's when things started happening to me. I was out the back with the other girl. There was 2 of us on the shift. We had a mirror, which was sort of in the center of the room. And so we could look up into that mirror and see who was waiting at the front counter to be served. On this occasion, I was out the back with her and I looked into the mirror. In the mirror was standing a tall, and what I could see was a man in a black cloak and a black tall hat. And I was like, I looked at the other girl and I was like, hang on, there's somebody out the front. I'm just going to go serve. It took me maybe 2 seconds to turn the corner and get to the counter. Nobody's there. I called my work colleague and I was like, hey, can you see anyone like, you know, out the window in this description? Like, I swear they were just in here. As we are standing out at the front counter, the back door slams shut and all of the taps turn on all at the same time, which is crazy. Sure, the wind could have caught the door, but at the same time that 3 taps turn on in different areas. Weird, right? I obviously didn't think too much of it. I just thought it was like such a crazy little coincidence, but I didn't put 2 and 2 together that like that person would have anything to do with that happening in the store. Anyway, I go home and for dinner that night, I was having something like quite basic. It was like beans on toast. It was something to do with toast. And I put my 2 pieces into the toaster and they were down for like 10 seconds and they popped up. And I was like, that's weird. The timer's set on like 2 minutes. So I pushed it down again and like 15 seconds later, they popped up. Pushed it down again and like 3 seconds later, they popped up. And I'm like, okay, is there a wire tripping? So I'm like so fixated on this toaster. My laptop starts playing music. Mind you, my laptop had been left at home all day and it was shut. It was shut like this. It was turned off. Like I hadn't used it in over 24 hours. It was in sleep mode or whatever. And music started playing. And let me show you what song was playing from my closed and off laptop. Please remember I'm 16 at the time. It's called You're 16, in brackets, You're Beautiful and You're Mine. Here it is on Spotify. This is what it sounds like. I'll play the chorus for you. At this point, I'm like, what the heck? I was like spooked. This was weird. I'm like telling my mom, like, hey, my laptop, like, did you use my laptop today? Like, you don't even know my password, right? Like, why is my laptop doing this? Anyway, then once again, didn't think anything of it really. Like, it was just another weird thing that had happened in my day, but like, whatever. Let's fast track into the night. I'm on FaceTime with my friend and it's like 1 a.m. in the morning. It's very late. I was a night owl back then. We'd been on the phone for hours and my family was asleep. Technically, me and my mum were the only 2 people at home. And I also had my childhood dog at home called Chester. He is a little Maltese Shih Tzu. And my mum was all the way down the other side of the house. And my dog wasn't with me. I don't know where he was, but he just wasn't with me. We were about to go to bed and I said to her, can you see that glow in the hallway? So I had my bedroom door open and I was like, I could see this like light. It was like a circle of light in my doorway. And I turned to the phone and she was like, not really. Like maybe you've left a light on like in one of your other rooms. And I was just like, yeah, okay, I'll check. All the lights were off and I was like, that's so weird. Got back into my bed. I looked directly into the hallway again. The same light is still there. And I turn my camera and I'm like, look, there is a glow in my doorway. It is a circle. I don't know what it is, but there's a glow in my doorway. And I hang up. I say goodnight to my friend. The next minute, the light is coming into my room and my dog comes out of nowhere. I have no idea where he is. He comes into my room barking his head off and he is going ballistic. He jumps up onto my bed. He sits on my chest and he barks at the door. My dog has never behaved like that ever in his life. I have never, ever seen him do that, let alone sit on my chest and bark directly at where this light is. I start to panic. It's like a feeling that comes over you, a sense of like a presence. And I was like, something's here. Something is in this room with me. And I was totally freaked out. I had just been on the phone. Remember that. I had just been on the phone to my friend. I then pick up my phone and I press to call my mother's phone number. No service. I had no service. My phone was disconnected. How can that be when I was just on my phone, on a phone call? I tried to call her like 8 times, wouldn't even ring. It just came up with, you have no service. So I am literally at this point hysterical. My dog is hysterical. I am like trying to like almost scream, but nothing is coming out. It is just like pure fear. And that is the only way that I can describe it. I just felt like pure fear in that moment. And I had no idea what was going to happen. And then it was like all of a sudden, nothing. Energy had gone. Chester had stopped barking. And he was just like sat. And the light was gone. And I tried to call my mum. And it rang through. And she answered. And I was like sobbing. And I was like, I need you to come to my room. Like, I've just had a visitor, basically. It is just one of the most insane things that I have ever experienced. And that one definitely will stay with me for life. I am a very open-minded person. And I feel like the more open-minded you are, the more likely you are to receive something like this. But yeah, I can't say that it didn't scare me. Anyway, if anybody has any experiences like this, I would love to hear it. But that is mine. That is my story time. Anyway, have the best day ever. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
I have a new dating horror story and it just happened and it's still bothering me, but I need to get it out. Keep in mind, this was just over a week long. Like, this whole thing, it was a whirlwind. I went on a first date on a Thursday. Really good first date. Really nice guy. We bantered well. We got along well. We just it just felt really good. And I haven't had that in a really long time. I find dating horrendous and just really difficult, but he was just awesome and very adult, mature man. We went to London House in Chicago. It was really good. Got really good food, good drinks. We went on the rooftop for a bit. Really nice. He literally walked me to his car that was parked by in a garage and drove me home and kissed me goodnight and it's just really good chemistry, really great. So then the next Thursday, we go on our second date. We go to another rooftop bar in downtown Chicago. Again, really good conversation. We're on the same page with a lot of different things, and he was just a very good listener. And I have a very strong personality. I'm very direct, and he took that really well. But he was also able to do that back to me. And again, just really good chemistry and just such a gentleman. Opened my car door for me, would kiss my hand when we held hands. It just felt really good. I went over to his place that night and hung out, and then I actually ended up sleeping over because I was just too tired to go home. And really, again, in the morning we got up, he drove me back to my place. He parked there and we went and got breakfast by me, and it was really fun. So third date, not really, I don't know what you would call it, whatever. So this is Friday morning. I say bye to him, and then we had a plan to go out tonight, Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever. But we were also talking about all these other things we want to do for dates, kayaking, escape rooms. We wanted to go to a Cubs game sometime this summer. Clearly we were talking about more than just a couple dates. We're future stuff, not future, but you know what I mean. And so I was oh, this is great. Things are falling into place. I'm finally meeting someone I really like that checks all my boxes, whatever. I hear from him throughout Friday, and then I don't hear from him all the day on Saturday on the 4th, and I'm because I knew he was with his friends, and I try not to be a freak about texting. I know everyone has their phone time, and people are not as attached to their phone as I am, or whatever, and I really don't expect someone to text me all day, but I do expect someone I'm talking to at least say hi or check in. And so I still hadn't heard from him. So by Sunday morning I messaged him. I'm hey, I just was being direct, and I was like, hey, like, I just want to say, like, I hope you had a good 4th, but I would really like to hear from you a little bit more, like, just check in. I'm not saying you have to talk to me all the time, but, like, I'm just hyper aware when someone's not messaging me when I'm talking to you, and I've been ghosted enough, and I try not to get in my head about it, but I do. And I think that's fair, and I said it very nicely. I wasn't, like, yelling at him or anything. 20 minutes later, he texts me. He's like, hey, sorry, like, so on Friday night when I went out to watch the World Cup game, I actually ran into my ex, and we had an awkward conversation, but we decided to get back together. I was like, oh, and this is an ex he told me about that they broke up a year ago, last July. They're long distance for a bit. The long distance is what, like, broke them up mainly, and probably some other stuff, whatever, but I know that was, like, a big factor. So, like, he said she was back in town. I don't know if that means, like, she lives here again. I don't know. Threw me for a loop, because, again, they broke up a year ago, and I get it. They have a way longer relationship than me and him did, like, obviously. It just, like, really, like, I was like, oh, that's not what I was expecting. And it's upsetting. It was upsetting, because, again, we clicked really fast, and, like, I just haven't felt that natural with someone in a while, so I'm quite sad in that sense, but, like, I do get it to an extent. Yeah, so every one of my girlfriends I've told this story to, they're like, I'd go into psychosis. I'm like, I probably am right now, but, like, yeah, that one you don't hear as often, especially, again, when, like, from what I knew, didn't have any contact with her, like, you know what I mean, like, just horrendous timing. I'm like, oh my god, if I had just waited, not even gone on a fucking date with him, I wouldn't have had to meet him. Yeah, I don't know. I'm struggling in the sense too that, like, going back into dating, like, he did a lot of stuff that, like, guys just don't do anymore, because the art of dating is fucking dead and lost. And I've come to realize that I like some of that traditional stuff. Not trad wife, don't get me wrong, not trad wife in any sense, but just, like, being chivalrous and a gentleman, like, that's just not as common anymore, and I do enjoy that. And that's just me, that's my preference, but yeah, that was upsetting. And I'm going to get margaritas tonight, so that's how it's going. Also, I'd like to point out, I'm like, wow, you were in bed with me Thursday night, Friday morning, and probably in bed with her by Friday night. Did you even change the sheets between us? No, you did not. You're still a male, you did not, but that's also skipping me out. It's fine, we're fine. Story time on how I had to once call the police on a woman whose child I was babysitting. Let's get into it. So some backstory. I used to be a nanny, a babysitter, day-night sitter, all of that. She found me off of care.com, which is, I think, a pretty reputable site. You know, I had references, they background check you, blah, blah, blah. So I met her in person, and she was a little off, but, like, I don't usually judge people by first impressions, because not, you know, sometimes people are nervous, but she just seemed a little skittish. She doesn't even bring the baby, which is weird to me. I was like, this is like our meet and greet. Like, why aren't you bringing your child? So we met at Starbucks. She just starts trauma dumping. She's like, I'm in a custody battle with my ex, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, like, okay. Like, again, I was just like, sure, like, lay it all on me. It's fine. And she's like, can you watch the baby at your house? And I was like, I guess. Like, I've never watched a baby in my house, but I was willing to. It was just me and my brother living in an apartment. I didn't even have a dog at the time. I was gonna be home all day. I was like, okay, no problem. Like, that's fine. I figured that she would come and see the home that she was dropping her infant off at. Do you think she did? No. The baby was 3 months old, by the way. But if it's a trap house, you don't know what's upstairs. That's wild to me. It was a red flag, but I was just like, you know, I need to pay rent. I gotta get paid. I also knew I was going to take very good care of her baby. So I forget what the agreed time was, but I know I told her that I had another job to go to. I think I said, like, I have to be there at 8, and she like, so the agreed time was, like, come back at 5. She was going to the city to, like, celebrate her birthday with her friends or something like that. When she drops off, she goes, I'm just gonna be a little later than planned. And I said, okay, that's fine. Just, I have to get to my other job at 8. And she's like, yeah, no problem. All day, I just had a really bad feeling. I was like, I feel like she's gonna fuck me over. I don't know why, but I just had, like, a bad feeling. I was like, she's gonna try to come later, and I'm gonna be stuck with her infant, and I'll have to miss my job later, whatever. So I called my mom, and my mom came over, and my mom loves babies, so she wanted to see him anyway. And so she came over, and she helped me out with him. He was, you know, being bottle fed, obviously.
he was on a strict schedule. You know, my mom and I were more than capable of taking care of the baby, but like my mom came over and she was like, what the fuck do you mean she didn't come up and look at your apartment? That's crazy. That's problematic. That's whatever. And I told her, I was like, yeah, you know, she's going through a custody battle. And my mom was like, bitch, like, whatever. So it's getting closer. So the day goes by fine. The baby's great. The baby's a infant, so he's sleeping most of the time. I feed him when I'm supposed to feed him. I love babies, so I had a great day with him. And again, mind you, she's in the city. So I text her at like 5. I was like, hey, just let me know when you're on your way home. She goes, oh yeah, I won't be home till later. And I was like, what do you mean later? Like in an hour or like 2? And she's like, probably like midnight. I said I had another job later. She goes, no, you didn't. You never told me that. I was like, what? We agreed on a time. Come get your fucking baby. Like, hello? So I sent her a firm message basically saying like, yeah, I'm gonna need you to come home at the agreed time and pick up, I don't want to say his name, the baby. Like, we discussed this, blah, blah, blah. Then she texts back. I'm assuming she, you know, it was one of those situations where she thought she was texting someone else about me, but she wound up texting me and she was like, yeah, whatever. She said she had some bullshit later, so I have to get going, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. So I texted back, I was like, I don't think you meant to send that to me. And she goes, nah. I was like, okay. So my mom was getting pissed because she's like, you know, my daughter's getting fucked over. She was like completely in love with that baby at that point. She was like, I feel so bad for this child. Like, what the fuck? Like, is she drunk? Is she doing drugs? Like, whatever. I was like, I don't know. So she comes back. I forget what time. It was like, it was, I didn't call the cops because she didn't come home on time. I'll tell you why. She came and I think it was like maybe an hour after the agreed time. I already worked it out with my other job. She said I didn't even need to come that night, so it was fine. But I was pissed. So she comes and picks the baby up. She's like, hey, I'm here, like, bring him down. I was like, okay. She is drunk, very obviously drunk. And I was like, I didn't know what to do. You know, again, I'm 19, I'm like, this mom wants her baby. Mind you, my mom's in the background. The way that my apartment was set up was like, my mom was like hiding behind, like, not hiding, she was kind of just like in the background. She was adjacent to where we were, kind of like listening, like, if I need to step in, I will, you know, mama bear. I was just like, okay, so it's X amount for the day. And she goes, no, I'm not paying you. And I went, I'm sorry, what? She said, I'm not paying you because you made me leave early. So at this point, I don't know what to do. I was like, and mind you, again, my mom is behind me. She comes out, she goes, what'd you just say? My mom goes, are you drunk? And she's like, no. And she's like, so you're drunk and you're not paying my daughter. And she goes, yeah, I'm not dealing with this. So she gets in the car, she puts the baby in the back seat, straps him up. My mom stands behind her car. Like, I love that bitch. She's like, you're not going anywhere. She goes, Kate, call the police. I was like, on it. So I call the police, which is not my favorite thing to do. And they come and they're like, hey, what's going on? And I was like, you know, I told her the situation. I was like, and I was like, I don't want to make assumptions because I was like, I don't want to like fucking ruin this woman's life. I was like, I think she's drunk, but I'm not sure. But also like she won't pay me. And the officer was like, all right, like let me go talk to her. So she goes and talks to her, and she's like, this is what I was told. What's going on? And the woman was straight up. She's like, yeah, she made me leave early. I'm not paying her. And the cop was like, nah, that's not how it works. So she gets my money. The cop gets my money and she hands it to me. And she's like, we'll take it from here. And I was like, I was like, I didn't even feel like, I didn't even want the money at that point. I really didn't. I mean, I did, but I was just like, fuck. Like, I just felt, I don't know, guilty. I don't know. I guess like maybe I could have, I'm like, what could I have done differently? But it's neither here nor there. So they asked me some questions. They you know, I showed them text messages of like the agreed payment and like everything that happened throughout the day. And she's like, you go, like, we got it from here. I had to go. I did have to go at that point. I wound up taking another babysitting job and I was like, okay, I have to go. So I don't know what happened. And then when I got home a few hours later, her car was gone. There was no police. No fucking idea what happened. And my heart breaks for that baby. I'm like, did this fuck up her custody battle? Like, did she get a DUI? Did she get arrested? Like, it was just a shitty situation. If something seems off, it probably is. See something, say something. I know I keep referring to my age, but I was, like, young and dumb and broke. Like, I wouldn't have taken the job on now. I would have been like, I don't like this situation. This doesn't feel good for anyone involved. I wish you the best. But you know, I took any job that I could at that point. So yeah, that's what happened. I have a lot of stories. I had a crazy life, and not like a, yo, my life was a movie, bro. Like, it's more like a, how is she not institutionalized at this point, brother? Bye.
So I upped the age on my Hinge profile so that I would be dating people who are 15 years older than me. Just to let you know, I just turned 40. So I'm dating like 55 to 6-year-old men just as an experiment. Let's see what happens. Let's see if these guys are any better at anything in regards to dating. So went on a date with a guy. We went on our first date. It was really nice. I wanted a second date. Second date, he doesn't text me all day. He doesn't tell me where to go, doesn't even plan the date. And then sends me a passive-aggressive message saying that he was disappointed because he's like, we should have been out for dinner right now, but we're not, so I'm going to stay home. And I was like, what the hell is this? It's like, I guess you're not that interested in me. I'm like, okay. So I actually responded to my own text message from the day before or the day before that, where I said, looking forward to dinner on Tuesday. And I was like, oh, is this not interested? Is this not eager? Like, all you had to do is make the plan. It's so simple. Just make the plan. So then, whatever. He goes away for a little bit. He comes back and I said, hey, when you come back from your vacation, it's my birthday. And that never registered, never clicked. So he comes back from his vacation. We're chit-chatting in text. I don't feel the need to tell him that it's my birthday. I don't really care. Then on the day of my birthday, I don't text him at all. And he messages me, all good. And I say, yeah, just enjoying my birthday. And he sends me a video, which was very sweet, saying that he didn't realize that this is my birthday. Well, you never asked me a single question about what I was up to this week. You didn't remember that I said it was my birthday, even though I registered that it was his birthday, and I did send him a happy birthday photo. Anyway, I digress. So, doesn't make a plan after he finds out it's my birthday. The day after my birthday, he messages me, what time are you done work? I say 8 p.m. He says he's going to make a plan. 5 hours later, still haven't heard from him. And I get out of the shower because I have I'm going to bed shower, hair washing shower and everything. And he says, hey, what are you up to? I'm going to bed. And so I'm annoyed. And now I've followed up with hey, I find it disappointing that you don't know how to make plans. Actions speak louder than words. And we'll see. Maybe there'll be a part 2. Who knows? Probably not. This guy sucks.
Growing up with dwarfism and why at 19 years old, I decided I didn't want to live that life anymore. In my young childhood days, it was really hard for me to distinguish the fact that I was different. I think one of the biggest giveaways for me was when I realized that my sister, who was 14 months younger than me, was so much taller than me. Of course, I knew I had dwarfism. I had a disability. I knew the words and I knew that it applied to me. But when you are in elementary school, there is still some resemblance of innocence. And so children are not very harsh or mean. And also children are still fairly short, depending on, their genes and how fast they're growing. And so I didn't think anything of it. Of course, I knew I was different, but I didn't feel that difference. As I got older and started to experience middle school and even more so high school, I 100% started to feel that difference. There was a lot of bullying, but I don't expect that to be any different. I think that most kids, especially in middle school, have some sort of experience with bullying. I was just bullied for a very specific reason. Luckily, I had parents and a wonderful sister and friends who really, helped with that difference that I was feeling, and it wasn't super hard for me. I have always been a really confident kid. I've done choir all my life. I dabbled in theater. I did dance. I just found every opportunity I could to be on stage. That was always such a good coping mechanism for me, but it also instilled so much confidence in an already confident child. The difference I was feeling really didn't matter. But then, my sophomore year of high school, I entered into my first relationship. That relationship lasted for around a year, and it destroyed my confidence. I can't fault him, but during that relationship, there were things that occurred that I had not really experienced before. People would tell my boyfriend that he should be ashamed for dating me, Not only because I was disabled, but also because it made him look like he had a fetish for children, that he could do better, so many things. And I would say that that was the first time that I truly experienced opinions of the outside world because of my disability affecting me directly and destroying something that made me so happy. Then, my junior and senior year of high school, those new thoughts were swirling through my head all of the time, which was just something new I had to deal with. I knew that there were going to be people who were going to laugh at me or going to stare at me, but now, every single time that something like that happened, I had the thoughts running through my head of me not ever being good enough. After high school, I decided I was going to go to college to study choral music education, which I was super excited about. Of course, I had my worries like any person has worries, but when I arrived at college, I found a friend group who got me through college, specifically one person that I met in that friend group that is now my best friend. And so that was great. But in college, that is a person's first taste of the real world. And for me, it was a huge shift, realizing with every single step I took that the world was not built for me. There's lots of physical setbacks that come with dwarfism that I was not unaware of, but being out in the real world on my own, where I barely had any help, was terrifying. You go to the grocery store and you can't reach anything. You go to the bathroom at any public place and you can't reach the sink. You can't reach the soap. You can't reach the paper towels. And then, obviously, there are the people that are going to stare at you and laugh at you and openly call you midget. There are old people and little kids who have never witnessed someone with dwarfism out in public who are going to say crazy things. There are so many things I had to deal with that the average person wouldn't deal with. The catalyst of all of these feelings I was having occurred when me and my best friend went to donate plasma because we were broke college kids. We wanted to get some extra money and donate plasma. And he went before me and they did his whole physical. He came out, no problems. I went in to do my physical and the doctor doing it told me that I would have to get up onto this examination table by myself. And he told me that I couldn't jump. He told me that he wouldn't provide me with a stool and that if I can't just get up there, that I would not be able to donate plasma. And I couldn't get up there and I couldn't donate plasma. So I left and I waited in the car. I cried and I cried and I cried. And I texted my mom and I said, I would not wish this disability on my worst enemy. One small thing that I could not do came with a rush of every single emotion, every single thing that I felt set back on my whole entire life. And in that moment, I decided I wanted to do leg lengthening and that I wanted a different life. I wanted to be able to go to the store and buy clothes off the rack without getting them altered. I wanted to be able to drive a car without having to get pedal extensions that cost thousands of dollars. I wanted to be able to go out and push a stroller and put my baby in a crib. I wanted to be able to reach anything I wanted to reach. I wanted to be able to not get stared at and laughed at every single time I went into public. There were so many things that I wanted, and leg lengthening was the solution. After a bunch of research and a bunch of time spent talking and thinking things through and working out logistics, we finally had an appointment with the leg lengthening specialist at the Rubin Institute for Limb Lengthening. We got my surgery scheduled for the end of July. I think that the thing that you should take away from this video is people with disabilities are people. We are people who want to experience a normal life. There are people in this world who do not view people with disabilities with the same amount of respect that they would a person without one. I have learned that my whole entire life. I've learned it through the way this world is built. I've learned it through the people in this world. Do I wish that I never had this disability? Absolutely not. Having this disability for 19 years of my life has taught me such a valuable lesson, and that lesson is empathy. Every single person on this planet is a person. No matter their age, race, gender, disability, orientation, social status, anything. Every single person is a person. And nobody should be laughed at or mocked or stared at or talked badly about because they're different. I'm super excited for the life that I'm going to be able to live, but I'm also so grateful for the years that I have spent with this disability because it has made me who I am. And I will walk, whether at 4'3" or 5'3", with all of the knowledge that I've gained because of this disability for the rest of my life. If you guys came from my other video, or if you're now following me, or if you just saw this on your For You page, thank you so much for all of your support, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!
I told myself I was going to start getting on this app and just start talking about my life, because the things I've been through, the things I've seen, insane. I'm sure people can relate, but insane. Okay, so let's have a story time. Okay, so we're going to talk about my dad today. So my dad was a biker. My dad was pretty wild. Everybody who knows my dad knows that he was literally freaking insane. Like, we're just gonna start there. Anyway, my dad was also a so my dad, he used to go to Tennessee all the time, and he would sell his down there, because why he was telling a 16-year-old this, I have no idea. But he would go down there and he would sell them for like $60 a pop, okay? Because it's like synthetic. Anyway, so my dad did this for like years, okay? And one year he comes back with a woman and a baby, okay? And my dad's married to my stepmom, okay? He's married to my stepmom. I'm not going to say her name on here, but he's married to her. And he comes home with a woman and a baby, okay? So he comes home with this woman and this baby. And my stepmom is obviously like, pause. So he explains that she was in a domestic violence situation. She had nowhere to go. So he brought her here. Didn't even ask, just brought her. And my stepmom was very like understanding, which is her downfall. Anyway, so this lady moves in with them with this baby, living in the basement. Okay, couple months go by, and what do you think happened? Yeah, so the lady and my dad were canoodling in the basement, and my stepmom walks in, sees it. Obviously, you know what happened after that. Like, we don't really need to get into detail. And she's like telling my dad, like, you need to choose. It's either her or me. Like, I can't believe you would do this. Like, blah, blah, blah. Anywhoosie, my stepdad obviously, like, the woman has to leave. And my stepdad chooses her, right? And not my stepdad, my dad. Sorry. Anyway, I was thinking of my stepmom. My dad chooses my stepmom. Anyway, moving forward. So, I'm there one weekend, okay? I'm over there. I'm on the phone in my room with my high school boyfriend at the time, and I hear the doorbell ring. And mind you, she had just left, like, a couple weeks ago. And I hear the doorbell ring, and I didn't get up to answer it because I don't live there full time. I just go there on the weekends. And all of a sudden, I hear a lot of commotion. Like, I'm hearing screaming. I'm hearing yelling. And I'm like, what is happening? So I jump out of my bed. Like, I go to the door. I run to the door. And I see this woman attacking my stepmom. So me being me, I run at this lady, right? And my dad, like, sees me and grabs me and throws me against the, like, brick wall that was, like, the side of our house. And I'm like, what are you doing? And I didn't realize the girl had a knife. She had a knife, and she was stabbing my stepmom here, and on the back of her neck. Cuckoo banana. So I'm like, oh, whoa, because I didn't know what to do. And I'm like, and I'm screaming. I'm like, you need to help her. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I was pissed. I was upset. Finally, this lady stops. She gets to, my dad was on the phone with 911 at the time. Like, that was the only thing he could think to do. Like, he didn't know what to do because he couldn't get her. Like, she was feral. Okay, she was on drugs. She was feral. She was insane. And my dad's on the phone with 911, and all of a sudden she stops, right? And she gets to the car, her truck, and she slits her wrist in the driveway. Guys, I'm witnessing all of this, and I'm like, what is going on? Crazy, right? So she gets arrested, clearly. We take my stepmom to the hospital. They're documenting everything. A police report's been filed, blah, blah, blah. And we all move forward. She stays with my dad. We all move forward. However, you remember that lady's kid? Yeah. Yeah. That's my dad's kid. Yes. They were canoodling in Tennessee while he was, selling for a very long time. And this kid's like, he's little. He's like 2, 3, or 4. I can't remember. But what's crazy is he looks just like my younger brother. Like red hair. Like my dad had, a red beard. Like he had all of it. Okay. And so this kid really is my dad's. And my dad was, like, super attached to him, obviously, but, like, he couldn't have, like, any contact with anyone because my stepmom's, like, no. Like, it was just, it's a sad story. Anyway, but my dad ended up still giving her, like, money in jail. Like, filling her commissary and stuff. Yeah. My stepmom found that out, too. Crazy story, right? I know. Okay, so that was our story time for the day. How do you guys feel about that? Pretty interesting, pretty crazy. Yeah, I know. I feel like I lived like a Jerry Springer life. Next topic, my mom. Anybody? Any takers? Apologize for the cliffhanger. My dad is deceased. The girlfriend is deceased. My stepmom is still alive. The little boy I know is with his siblings from the girlfriend from her previous whoever she was with, I don't know. I know that she had I think it was 2 to 4 girls maybe. I can't remember exactly how many, but I know she had daughters. And those girls, I knew them because of my dad. Because my dad was still sending his girlfriend money in jail. He was still taking care of her other girls. He was paying for their apartment and stuff. He was taking care of them. He cared about them. Same with the little boy. So my dad wasn't oh, bye. He wasn't like that. My dad was actually a good person, but he was struggling with an addiction. He passed away from AH overdose, and that was in 2014. And my stepmom stayed with him up until that, the whole time. They were together, but my stepmom was also struggling with an addiction, just like my dad's girlfriend was struggling with the same addiction with H. So, we go deeper. I'm going to throw you guys a big old whoa. So, during COVID, I did an ancestry DNA test. And I found out that my dad, who passed away, my dad, who this is all about, not my biological father. Drop the mic. So the show goes on. I found out he's not my biological father. My mother had an affair. Yeah, let's talk about my mom. My mother had an affair because her and my dad got in a physical altercation. My dad ended up going to jail for a week, and she met a guy at her work. They had a little canoodle fest, and then she got back with my dad, and I'm sure they had a canoodle fest, and then she found out she was pregnant, had no idea who the dad was. So my dad never knew that I wasn't his because he passed away in 2014. So my younger brother, little David, is my dad's biological son. The little boy that is with his girlfriend, also his son. So my brother has had contact with him. I know that. And I know he's older now. And I know that my brother has had contact with him. I don't know what other contact they have. But I do know that my brother has seen him. He didn't just bye, My grandma, my dad's mom, she wanted nothing to do with that little boy. So my brother was and he's well, then you have nothing to do with me, peace. And I don't blame him. So he basically got my little brother basically got shunned because he decided to have a relationship with this younger kid. And it's mind-boggling to me that my grandma was just so mean about it. But may she also rest in peace. All good. And my stepmom, she is living somewhere. I don't know if she's still doing drugs. But I do know that she is alive. I have had some words with her. She does check in with me like every once in a while, and I really do. I pray for that woman every day because she didn't deserve any of the things that she went through. But again, they were all addicted to H, and they were all in a very toxic dynamic. And there's more to that story, honestly, that I didn't even share in that first video. But yeah, if you guys want to know about my fun little ancestry journey, I can tell you all about that one too. My mother.
My former boss just murdered his wife, so let's talk about it. I used to work in pharmacy. I used to be a pharmacy tech as well as do pharmaceutical sales for a company that shall not be named. Netflix, if you want a documentary, please let me know because some crazy shit happened at that last job and it hasn't really been in the news. It was pretty hush hush. I do know that people at my company had connections and they kind of buried this story. But, anyways, if you want a story, let me know. But that's not quite relevant to this story, and we have a lot to get through. So let's get into it. So I used to work with Kirk Rawl, and he was a pharmacist. He was formerly from Georgia. He was a plastic surgeon, and his medical license was revoked due to inappropriate behavior, and he was fired from his practice. He then moved to Tennessee where he became a compounding pharmacist, and he worked at a pharmacy for a little bit and was fired because either his pharmaceutical license was invalid and or he was doing inappropriate and not really legal things at the pharmacy. So then he comes to my pharmacy, and this is where my story begins. So from the first moment that I met this man, I knew something was off. We always thought that he was on meth, cracked out, at work. He would often just zone out and gaze into outer space. He would make very inappropriate comments. He told me that I was very oriental and he felt the need to tell me how much he loved exotic women. And I do remember it was around Valentine's Day. Me and a couple coworkers were talking about our plans with our significant others, and he comes over and asks if we can help him figure out what to get his wife for Valentine's Day. Mind you, we had like little to no communication with this man. We had pretty much just been observing him, and we thought he was weird, but we didn't want to jump to any conclusions, so we were trying to help him. And we asked him, well, what gifts have you gotten her in the past, to kind of go off something? And he proceeds to tell us that he bought her a leaf blower and she didn't like it. Shocker. And so he was like, well, I just don't understand why she's so materialistic. Like, she's asking me for jewelry and she wants to go on a vacation. And he proceeds to say, why can I not just take my pants off for her? Like, why can't that be enough? And first of all, wild thing to say. Second of all, why would you say that in the workplace in front of new coworkers who are all about 20 something? Very weird, strange, inappropriate behavior. He made several other comments like that, and he would openly talk about his personal life. After this, he started saying how many wives he had had, and he would talk badly about his current wife and talk about how they argue all the time and he has to put her in her place and make sure she remembers where she belongs. So after that comment and after a few other things that he said that were pretty alarming, we decided to do a deep dive on him and see if we could find anything. And we did. We found an article stating that he was arrested in Canada for beating his ex-wife, which was his wife at the time, with ski poles in front of her children, which were his stepchildren. And he was arrested in Canada. I'm not sure how that works for US citizens. I don't think it's on your criminal background check or anything since it was in Canada, but I really don't know. So it didn't really come as a shock that he murdered his wife, sadly. Now, let's get into the story. So the story is he called 911 on himself and said, "I just murdered my wife." And he proceeded to tell the 911 operator that he was going to bury the body and he was not going to go away for this murder. And when asked if she was breathing, he said no, she is as dead as fried chicken. He then also told them to F off and he hung up the phone. Now, they did interview him. And his interview, he stated that he remembered being asleep on the couch and his wife woke him up and they started arguing. He says the next thing that he remembers is he is laying on the ground with her head and neck in his arms and he is trying to rip her head off. He stated that he fully believed that she was the devil and that he was the Son of God and that he needed to get rid of her. When he was unable to rip her head off with his arms, he proceeded to shoot her. And she wasn't moving, and he thought that she was playing dead, which upset him, so he continued to shoot her. Apparently, then he did also eat some of her, and he stated that he enjoyed it. He then proceeded to go outside and call 911, and that is when that call happened. The police arrived, and he was removing his clothing in the front yard, and he was covered in blood, and the police told him not to move, but he started approaching them, to which they tasered him. And if you're not familiar with Nashville, all of this happened in College Grove, which is in Williamson County. And Williamson County is like the bougie part of Nashville. It is a wealthy area. They had the nice house, nice neighborhood. From the outside, it looked like nothing was going on. But the neighbors did state that they have had some domestic abuse calls, and the wife has apparently told them of some things that were concerning. I really believe he's going to try and plead insanity. I am not sure if he was under the influence of any drugs during this. It wouldn't surprise me if he was, and it really wouldn't surprise me if he tries to plead insanity for this. I really, really hope that does not take, and I hope he is convicted to the fullest extent for this crime. My sympathies go out to her family and her loved ones. This is an absolutely horrible, horrible incident, and I feel like proper action needs to be taken. But he was arrested. This is his mugshot. And his bond is set at $2.5 million. This just goes to show that things might look normal and nice on the outside, but you really never know what's going on inside the home. Thankfully, I only worked with this man for a short period of time, but Netflix, if you want a story, let a girl know, because the place that we worked at, there's a reason why they hired him. They knew that he was corrupt and we needed corrupt people at our company because we weren't doing everything right either. So, crazy story, but it would make a great documentary, but it's horrible. It is a a tragedy, honestly.
Story time about how we found out we were dating the same guy.
So it all started, I met this boy named Diego at a golf tournament, and I didn't really think anything of it. Like, we kind of hit it off, you know. He told me he didn't have any social media, and he told me a fake last name. But, like, I searched him up with his fake last name. Obviously, nothing came up. So we would text all the time, and, like, I never went to his house. He told me he lived in West Orange, but, like, we would go out to dinner. I would go out to dinners with his entire family, because we were talking for, like, 4 months, kind of. And he asked me to be his girlfriend after 2 months. So, like, we were talking for 2 months, dating for 2 months. I would literally go out to dinner with this kid's, like, entire family. And, like, we would drive, like, 40 minutes for dinner. Like, I fully believed he lived West Orange.
I met Diego at the beach. He came up to me, and the story that he told her with, oh, no, I don't have social media. He asked her my Snapchat, and I followed him on Instagram. I followed him on TikTok, all of this. And we hit it off, obviously. We were talking, we were snapping. He told me he was from Point Pleasant. So, once again, another lie from him. But I really liked him. We never, like, actually got to, like, the whole, like, dating girlfriend-boyfriend thing, but we were talking consistently every single day. Like, we might as well have just been dating at that point. And, like, we would hang out, like, again, never in a house or anything because he was from fucking Point Pleasant, apparently. But he lies. He's a liar, so... I'm pissed off about this. I'm getting pissed off again.
I know.
You talking about
explaining it like makes me mad. Okay, so how we found out. Obviously, we're best friends. Like, we've been best friends. Like, our families are best friends. Like, we basically lived together since we were, like, 2. And, like, I never had a picture to show her. Like, I would talk about this Diego. And obviously, we didn't think it was the same Diego because we were told different last names.
2 different places they
different
were
towns.
from.
And I just never took pictures with him. Like, I thought he didn't have Snapchats. Like, I would never be on my phone, really, because, like, he never was on his phone. Like, he didn't have social media. What was he doing on his phone? So, like, I would never be on my phone. So, like, we never took pictures together. Like, I didn't really have pictures of him at all.
And I never showed her a photo because, like, he doesn't have stuff on his Instagram. He doesn't have stuff on his TikTok. And, like, if we would snap back and forth, it wouldn't be pictures of his face. It'd be, like, the ceiling or, like, his bed or whatever the hell he was doing. And I never took pictures with him because he was a little iffy about it. He was, no, I don't look good, blah, 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 all that bullshit that guys say. But apparently it's just Diego.
So, one day, like, our town is, like, a fair. So, like, a carnival fair. We went to the fair together. And guess who we see? We see Diego.
Our boyfriend, basically. Our boyfriend.
I literally grabbed her. I'm like, Courtney, this is the boy I've been telling you about. Like, there he is. Like, he's with a bunch of his friends, like, all boys. Like, I got so excited. I was like, Courtney, like, there. We have to go talk to him. Like,
immediately thought she was lying. Thought she was pulling a prank on me or something. Because that's my boyfriend. That's my boyfriend. What do you mean your boyfriend's my boyfriend?
So we both thought the other one was lying. And, like, we didn't get mad at each other. We were just so confused. And then, like, we realized we were both confused.
I was, like, a little mad. Because, like...
Okay, I wasn't mad.
But I'm just, like, a jealous person. Like, I was a little mad. I can't lie. But...
So we realized that we weren't pranking each other. He was playing both of us.
And he did it well. He did it really well.
No, yeah, you can't even lie. Like, that was actually smooth as hell. But... So what do we do?
This shit's, like, embarrassing now. Like, you tell it.
So, obviously, we're at the fair. There was, like, this whole thing, like, these people, like, their own, like, local business, like, selling things at the fair. They were selling pies. We each bought 3 pies and ran up to him. Like, I ran up from, like, his front, and, like, she ran up from behind him, and we just, like, pied him. Like, his face, his body, like, his friends were there, like...
He was pissed the fuck off. He was annoyed.
Come in. Diego!
What the hell?
I wanted to come on here and share the scary experience that happened to me today, just to kind of remind all you ladies that go out shopping on your own to just always be aware of your surroundings, and if you feel like something's off, like, just follow your guts. So anyway, I was shopping today at TJ Maxx around 4 o'clock, and it's a TJ Maxx that I shop at often. I always shop there. Never had any problems like this before, but there is no security at that TJ Maxx. Some of them do have a security. This one does not. So I was shopping and I had to use the restroom, so I used the restroom. And the restrooms are kind of like in a hallway, and it's the women's restroom first and then the men's restroom on the very end. And as I was walking out, I did notice a man coming into the restroom, and he had like kind of long hair. It's like, it looked like when when guys have a haircut and then it grows out, like that's what it looked like. It looked like he hadn't gotten a haircut in a really long time. And then he had a goatee and a mustache, and it was like also grown out. He looked like a little disheveled. He had like a white shirt and gray sweatpants. He was like maybe like his late 20s, early 30s. And so he walked in and he didn't smell clean. So I was just kind of like, ooh, you know, I was like, so just that alone made me notice him. Because I was like, you know, him walking past me, I was like, boy. Like first I was thinking like, boy, take a shower. Like what the hell? So yeah, so I was like, let me go to the kitchen aisle, because that's like one of my favorite spots, is to go through the kitchen stuff. And so I was in there, and lo and behold, who shows up? And I remember thinking it was odd right from the beginning, because I had just seen him go into the restroom. So I was like, oh, you know, like he's here. And I was just trying to ignore him and just trying to shop, looking at the stuff, like looking at all the kitchen tools. And he kind of like slowly makes his way like really close towards me. And like I said, he didn't smell clean. So I was just kind of like, he's kind of in my space. So I walked not to the very next aisle, but the aisle after that. And I was shopping and looking at the pans, and then boom, there he is on the end of the aisle. And I was kind of like already getting suspicious at that point, because I was just like, it doesn't look like he's shopping. It looks like he's just like there. You know, he's not looking for something. He's just standing there, kind of standing there still. And where the kitchen stuff is, the fitting room is like right there. So I noticed that he's on the aisle. So then I right as I see him, I go to the aisle right next to that, because I'm still trying to shop. And I'm there, and then here he comes again. And so I was already getting that feeling like, is this guy following me? At first I was like, it seems like he is, but you know, like you always try to like not believe that that's happening, or you try to talk yourself out of it. So I was like, well, let me just like leave this area. And so I went to like the other side of the store where like all the clothes was. And I was like, well, let me just see if I can see him from afar. So like, because I'm thinking that he's shopping and maybe I'm paranoid, right? So I was like, I'm going to wait for him to get out of that area so I can go back to that area and continue shopping, because like I said, I really like looking at the kitchen stuff. So I'm over there in the clothes section for a while, just kind of like looking around, trying to kill time. And so then I go back towards the kitchen stuff, but I go like really slow, and then I'm looking around, making sure that I don't see that guy. And then I'm kind of like in a section of the store that's kind of like inside of all these racks and stuff, and like tables with like outdoor planters and things like that. And so I'm in that little section about to make my way to the kitchen area, and then who do I see like walking around, like looking like this? And then he spots me and we make eye contact. And at that point I'm like, oh, he's following me, because as soon as he saw me, he stopped and he just stood there and he looked for a while. And I even like looked at him like, you know, like, what are you doing? And as soon as I realized that, yes, he is following me, because at that point it was like really clear that he was like looking for me, then I kind of got mad. then I got mad. I was like, you know what? I'm leaving. I'm not even gonna shop here. I can't even shop because he's making it so uncomfortable. So as soon as he like looks at me, he kind of just like looks, and then he kind of just like walks kind of slowly to where I was at, but I go out the other way, and then I go straight to the front to buy the stuff that I already had. So I get to the line, and I'm like looking around because I'm like, he better not follow me over here to the line. I don't want him standing next to me. You know, I was already kind of like really annoyed at that point. And I was like, if he comes near me again, I'm going to say something to him. So I start texting my husband. I'm waiting in the line, and I'm like, just so you know that there's this like weird guy following me in the store. And he's like, tell the security. I was like, there's no security here. And then even my husband was like, oh, do you want me to go over there? And I was like, no, I'm just going to tell like the cashier. And so I'm looking around, and luckily there's just like regular people standing in line. So I was like, okay, well, at least he didn't follow me into the line. And so I was just like, well, where is he? Because at that point, I was like, I need to know where he is. So, you know, to make sure he's still not following me. And then I'm kind of close. There's like maybe one more person ahead of me. And then I look out of the corner of my eye, and he's there watching me. And he's just looking at me and like kind of just like walking slow. And it was just so like uncomfortable. I was hot and sweaty. I literally felt like prey. Like, what am I gonna do if this guy tries to like come up to me or something, you know? So like I'm hot and sweaty. I'm kind of like angry. I'm pissed. I was like, you know, I'm gonna tell him something. Like, do I have to fight? Like, I didn't know what I was gonna do at that point. So I get to the cashier, and I'm getting my stuff, and she's like, oh, so okay, so he sees me, right? And I'm right there at the front. And as soon as they call the number for you to go, I start walking to the cashier, and I see him out of the corner of my eye walking out of the store. So he leaves. And then I'm thinking like, oh, you know, like, is he gonna wait outside for me? So I get to the cashier, and the cashier was like, was that guy following you? And I said, yes. I was like, oh my God, you know, like instant validation. I was like, okay, I'm not tripping. So she was like, I saw him. I was at the fitting room. And she's like, I saw him like following you. And she's like, I told my coworker, are you seeing this? And I was like, yes, he was following me. And I go, and she's like, do you need someone to escort you to your car? I was like, yes, please, can like somebody take me? I go, I'm paranoid. I don't know if he's gonna be waiting for me outside. And she's like, yeah, I can see like that you were looking around like real scared. And I was like, yeah. So anyway, she walked me outside. We didn't see him once we were out there. But luckily she walked me to my car, and I got to my car, and then like I had to do a return at Ulta, which is literally next door from the TJ Maxx that I was at. But I was like, I'm not even gonna do that. I'm gonna go straight home. I don't know where this guy is. I don't even want to risk it. So I left. But yeah, it was pretty scary. Just really be careful, you guys, if you're out shopping, and follow your gut. Like, if you feel like something's wrong, it most likely is wrong. Yeah, and just be safe, you guys.
Story time. So my last video, I talked about how my emotionally abusive partner, who is no longer my partner, was living a double life. And I mean a serious double life. We're not just talking like hookups here and there. We're talking about having a wife and having me as a fiance, having a home with a mortgage in one place, and having a home and a mortgage in another place, and actually living a dual life. And people are like in my inbox, but how? Like, how is that even possible? And let me tell you, this is how it is possible. The depths of lies upon lies and deception is wild. Number one, he had a job at the time where he would fly out of town for certain things all the way across the country, which ironically enough, neither one of us lived across the country from each other. We lived an hour and a half from each other. And yes, the houses were only an hour and a half apart. But the job at one time, not anymore, had entailed him traveling sometimes for 2 weeks to do a stint and come home. However, there could be the potential for having longer amounts of time away from home. The first initial hangout or stay together for a month didn't seem so weird for his then wife, because he told her he was in a third world country across the world, and he was really with me in the United States Virgin Islands on a travel contract for my job. And he would send her pictures from the Virgin Islands, which can sometimes look like a poor economic area, and tell her that that's where he was sending the pictures from. Fast forward to me coming home. Before we bought a house together, we lived about 3.5, 4 hours from each other, so we would meet in the middle on weekends when we both weren't working, right? Didn't seem weird, didn't seem abnormal. Sometimes he would come to my house, whatever. But that is how our relationship started. We ended up deciding we were gonna move in together and buy a house together after, I don't know, 8 months or so. Now we're living in the home, right? We're living in the home together. Well, when I go home to Delaware on the weekends to see my dad and my dog, he would also go home, his actual home, with his wife on the weekends. So I would go to Delaware and he would go an hour and a half west to his wife. So that's how he fooled me, because I had no idea, because I was home myself. So I had no idea where he was. I just thought he was home. He also used to stage pictures and stage the house so that he made it look like he was home. But he would do it after I left and before he would leave, and then I would get home before him, so it looked like I was walking into a house that he was in all weekend and he just happened to be out somewhere and on his way home. So how did he get out of his house with his wife to be living with me all week long? What he told his wife was that he was doing a project at work. It was this extensive long project, which is not unheard of for his profession, and he would pull long days. So think like sometimes you can have the same hours as an attorney or something like that. So because he lived an hour and a half from his work, he told her during the week he was going to stay with his friend from work and his colleague, and then on the weekends he would come home. So while I was out shopping for paint for our walls and our fireplace on a Saturday afternoon, he was having sex with his actual wife in his actual other home an hour and a half away. When he was at family events or went to parties or anything like that, he would send both of us the same picture and the same message almost at the same time, and we had zero idea. When he was sending me a message that he was on his way home, he was sending her a message that he missed her. When he would send me a message saying he would miss me for the weekend, he would send her a message that said, "Babe, I'm 10 minutes away." When she inquired about mortgage paperwork that came to their house or their email, he lied and told her that it was for refinancing their home, even though it's that he bought an entirely additional home. So I'm gonna wrap this up because it's getting kind of long, but those of you asking how that happened, that's the basic basis of how it happened, how it started. And then there's way more shit that it entails, but that's how two people were fooled, because everyone's like, oh my God, people have to be idiots to not understand this, but it legit was super covert, super secret, also made sense for both parties involved. So I've had several different questions asking about my fiance, who also had a wife, and we did not know about each other. People are asking me how this was figured out. Who figured this out? How did this happen? So the funny part is, it was his daughter that figured it out. I am a very private person. I don't really post a lot of stuff on Facebook anymore. In the latter years of my life, I've just been pretty private. It's just me. I prefer it to be that way. Well, I finally decided to post some pictures of our home and some projects we were doing in the home. I have obviously commented and liked a lot of his own Facebook things because, well, he's my fiance, right? So I'm commenting, I'm liking, and his daughter noticed. His daughter took notice of this woman commenting and liking on certain posts, apparently. My page is private for most of my stuff, but some of the stuff obviously isn't always private. I don't know. I have my settings set to like mostly private, whatever that Facebook setting is. And I guess out of likes and comments on his page, she saw me, she checked me out, and she started going through my Facebook page. She started figuring out and putting two and two together with just certain pictures, and he was in one of them, and that is how this all happened and got started. And no, I did not tag him in the pictures, and he was not stupid enough to post them on his own page. So daughter reaches out to wife and tells wife. Wife then tries to reach out to me, however she cannot, because he has blocked her from being able to send me a message because she's signed into their home computer, and he knows if she ever finds out, she's gonna probably try to message me. She messages one of my friends and says, hey, this is what's going on. Like, I don't know if you know your friend Angela is with somebody who is actually married to me and this is the situation. And the person messaged me and said, hey, I don't know if this is an ex and they have a vendetta against somebody, but I just figured I'd give you the information because I want you to have the information and you do with it what you will. So of course I sat on that information for a little bit of time. Everybody's like, what do you mean you sat on it? I would have been flipping the fuck out, right? Well, I did come storming down the stairs and flip the fuck out at him, but I sat on the information with her for a little bit of time, and then I actually reached out to her, and we actually had a conversation, and we talked about all the things that were just happening simultaneously that were wild. The things that we both were giving at the same time, the things that we weren't giving at the same time because he was on the way to her or on the way to me or whatever it might be. There are some crazy things going on during this situation. We end up comparing our text message feeds in real time and seeing what was actually going on. And that is when we found out the level of deception and the depth of all of this horseshit. Many of you also asked if I planned my wedding, and the answer is yes. So I can tell you guys all about that too.
One time when I lived in Chicago, I woke up in the middle of the night to someone barging into my apartment. I was living in this luxury apartment building and I lived on the 35th floor, so it was pretty high up. Now, if you had a guest that wanted to come in, we did have a front desk guy and he guarded the locked doors that lead to the elevator. You can't use the elevator and you can't get into the elevator room without having a key fob. So it's a pretty secure building. If you do have a guest coming, you have to make sure to put it in the system, their first and last name, and they have to present an ID in order to get in. So one night I went to bed kind of early and I wake up in the middle of the night hearing my front door unlocking and I'm like, what the hell? What the? And so I kind of like sit up, but I'm not clothed. So I can't like get up all the way, but I like kind of get up half. And I have a 1-bedroom, so I didn't like to close the door. So the door was wide open and from my bed, I could like lean up and kind of see the kitchen area. So when you walk into my apartment, there's like a long hallway and then you're in the kitchen. And I hear someone fully enter my unit. And I look up and I see this tall, large man just come waltzing in. And I was like, hello? And he was like, hey. And then he sat down on my couch and I'm sitting there and my heart is thumping and I was like, oh, okay, so this is where it ends for me. I'm definitely gonna be touched tonight. That's the first thing that a girl thinks of when a large man walks into their unit. And I was like confused, adrenaline. Now this guy is supposed to defend me, right? When a stranger comes in and I'm terrified, but instead he jumps down from the bed and he runs out to the living room to go say hi and wag his tail and be cute. And the guy sitting on my couch then looks at my dog. I think he like pets him a little bit and then he was like, oh, I'm sorry. And then he runs out. So I'm left there confused. He's confused. And I'm sitting there like, first of all, he was supposed to defend me and didn't do that. So that's good to know in an emergency situation. But also I'm like, who was that? How did he get in here? And what just happened? And I just had so much adrenaline and fear and then it turned to anger. So I'm kind of like terrified, but also like pissed off. So I run up to the door and like I hear him get in the elevator and leave. And I'm like, what actually just happened? So I jump in the elevator. I go down to the front security guy. I start like yelling at the front desk guy because I was absolutely terrified, scared. I was crying. Like it was a really scary moment. If you're a woman, you understand if a large man just comes waltzing into your apartment and sits down on your couch and is like being so like psychotically casual and your dog's not defending you, it's terrifying. So anyway, I'm like, what just happened? Like, did you just give some guy a key to my, like someone just broke into my unit? And he was like, oh, I'm so sorry. That's my fault. Let's just say that my apartment was like 4241. Then he was like, oh, the person in 4142 called and said their friend was coming to let their dog out for them. And I accidentally wrote down your apartment number instead. And I'm like, so you didn't check the account to make sure that I put his name in? You didn't check his ID? You just wrote it on a Post-it note, got my key out and handed it to a stranger? He was like, yeah, I'm sorry. That's what happened. And I was like, are you kidding me? And then the guy who broke into my unit came down and he was like nervous and he's like, I'm sorry. Like I thought I was going to my friend's apartment, but when I saw your dog, I realized I was in the wrong place, so I like ran out, of course. And I'm like, I mean, it's not your fault. It's not your fault, but what the heck? Now, it's already terrible that this happened, but I think one of the like worst parts about this is the way that this luxury apartment handled the situation. So I had a flight at like 4 a.m. the next day. I had to get up and leave. And so I was like heading out of there. I go on my trip, I go on my flight, and I give them a good amount of the day to call me back because I sent an email to the leasing office letting them know what just occurred. Hello. And not only did I not get a response to the email, I didn't get a phone call all day. So at the very end of the workday, I give them a call. I give them the benefit of the doubt, let them have all day to call me. They never did. So I called the office and I was like, hey, I need to speak to a manager. And they're like, oh, we're leaving for the day. And I was like, no, you're not, because someone broke into my unit last night. So I think we actually are going to address this. They're like, oh my gosh, I'll transfer you right away. And the manager answers, she says, I was just gonna call you. And I was like, I don't think you were, because everyone says they were closing up and leaving, so I don't think you were, and I'm confused why you waited all day to call me. Like, this is like a pretty big deal, I guess not to them. So anyway, she was like, okay, well, I'd love to meet up with you. And I was like, great, well, I'm out of town, so like I get back, I'll be back Friday. And she's like, great, we'll meet up Friday. So Friday comes and I'm dressed for court, right? I'm like dressed for court. I'm dressed professional. Like, we're about to have a professional meeting, if you will. And I go down to the leasing office and I am sat in the manager's office and she's not there yet. She's late. It's her day off. She comes in, she lives in the building, I guess. She comes in her like pajamas and her like giant key ring flipping around. She's like, literally just woke up, like didn't get ready at all, pajamas, slippers, the whole 9 yards, comes in and she's just like, it's my day off and I wanted to make sure that I like met up with you. I'm so sorry that happened and we just want to hear your story, this and that. And I was like, well, I was pretty descriptive in the email of exactly what happened. Like, that's what happened. Is very traumatizing. I had a flight the next day. I'm unsure if someone's breaking into my apartment while I'm gone now. Like, we're just handing keys out willy-nilly. Like, I pay way too much to live in a place where I'm not sure if the front desk guy's handing my key to just whoever. And she was like, I totally understand. So like, if you want, we can fire him. And I'm like, I'm not going to be responsible of this man's like livelihood. That doesn't benefit me or make me feel good. And this lady had the audacity. She was like, oh, well, I'm sorry. Like, you can call corporate, whatever. So I call corporate. And then the lady at corporate was even worse. And she was like, hey, yeah, so typically in situations like this, we would send flowers, but you left town for a while, so it just felt forced. Like, oh, it'd feel forced if we sent flowers now. And I'm like, so you would send flowers, but you're not. Okay, so what are you going to do? And she's like, well, what do you want? What do you want? I'm like, obviously I want money off rent. So they came back and she offered me like half off rent or something. And then I had a lawyer send a letter to them urging them to give me a couple months off. And they, after a lot of discussion, they did. It's so ironic how like the worst experience I've had living somewhere is always a luxury apartment. Always.
Hey guys, I know I promised a story time, so I'm giving you what you wanted. For anybody who was on my live last night and was like, what the fuck's going on? Well, this is what's going on. As you know, this person and I have been friends for a couple months. We went on the Florida trip, yada yada yada. Basically, to dumb it down, this person calls me one night and confesses to me the DV situation was a lie, the miscarriage situation was a lie, and I'm not talking about anybody under 18 in this video. So from what I was told, the reason why the DV situation was a lie was because Peyton got in her head, social media got in her head, everything was, you know, basically falling through and stressing her out to the point to where she said she was being over dramatic and took it to the next level, which was terrible. I can't personally tell you whether or not that is the truth as to why she felt the need to go file a false police report. That's an inner problem issue that she needs to explain. And the miscarriage situation was also a lie. She is currently pregnant. She is having the baby. She is still associated with this man and associated herself with this man while legal action was in place. And again, this was all said in the phone call. And after that, after her and I had that phone call, mind you, my boyfriend was right there, and he was like, Emma, like, you need to keep your guard up. Like, this is not okay. This is not something that you play around with. And I didn't disagree. Did I defend her? Yes. Why? Fuck if I know. I saw her as a friend. I respected her for telling me the truth. And honestly, that was that. Now I'm fucking pissed at myself. Should I have taken, you know, something differently? I probably should, but I didn't. So I low-key kind of like distanced myself a little bit after that conversation. And here's where I kind of want to clear things up. So when I was on live last night, I had stated that the date that she had called me was July 2nd. I went on my FaceTime log and the July 2nd was there, so I assumed that was the date. Well, no, it's not. And here it is. I was on live June 30th. She came on my live, left, and then texted me this. And yes, there's so many ongoing calls because we had a connection problem. This call was 34 minutes long at 10:30 on this day, and she is blocked. She's been blocked since last. So yes, I want to say the 7-2 was irrelevant. To be honest, I have no idea what happened in that conversation. I don't care anymore. I'm posting this video because everybody deserves the truth. What I went through, what Peyton went through is not fair. I mean, you guys have to understand, like, I feel like I lost a best friend from this situation because I was so blindsided that I did not see anything that was coming at me. And of course I'm going to have these thoughts about, you know, Peyton and believe what she's saying because I have these thoughts about Peyton. But I am giving you guys what you want to hear. And that's the truth, and that's what you guys deserve to hear. I don't know what else to say. So, thank you for watching. I tried to answer as many as many questions as I did last night in my live. I mean, honestly, all of the allegations that are going around about me and everything else, I don't know where they're coming from. I don't care because it's not me as a person. Everybody who needs to know the truth knows that, you know, my story is true. So, thank you. I also want to add, yes, I am stupid for falling for all of this. The people who were put into her life know how it feels. I can't physically make you feel how I felt in the situation and how I feel now because I feel so stupid. I genuinely do. I could sit here and cry about the situation because I know I'm stupid. But like I said, you guys deserve the truth, so take it as you will.
This is gonna be the most niche video I've ever made, okay? Did anyone else's older sister, when you guys were younger, when she would get on the phone with a boy, her voice would drastically change? She would be yelling at me like, seriously, get out of my face, like, stop, I'm on the phone.
Part 1, how did my sister steal $6,000 of my dollars, and how did she convince the rest of my family that I'm in the wrong? There's just so much context needed to get up to the point where my money is missing and I'm not sure if I'm going to get it back, that I really don't know where to start. I don't necessarily blame her for a lot of what has happened, if that makes sense. I think she is a product of our life and how our family has treated us, and that is what has brought us here today. My sister is 15 years older than me. I'm 21, she's turning 36 this year. We do not have the same biological father. Her and my mom met my dad when she was very young. She does know her father and he has been in her life, but she really only knows my dad as her dad. My sister was born in 1990. In 1996, my parents gave birth to a boy that only ended up living for a couple hours. In 2002, they got married. In 2003, they gave birth to my full brother, who is still alive, and then in 2005, they gave birth to me. My early years are hard to pinpoint what has exactly happened, just because it's a lot of he said, she said, and no one really has a straight story, and I can't confirm I was like 3. So I'm going to tell you things that I believe are fact, because I've heard it from different sources, but take kind of all of it with a grain of salt, because everyone in my family are liars. What I know for a fact is my mother has always been super abusive. Physically abusive, mentally abusive, kicking, hitting, Hispanic mom kind of things, like just rude. And when we were super little, she was a waitress in a club, and she would go out, like cheat on my dad. He didn't leave her for it. Apparently my dad's siblings offered to pay her in the divorce but he didn't want to divorce her because me and my brother were so young, all this stuff. I believe the timeline is when I was 3, she went to jail for money stuff, stealing money, for about 2 years. My sister would have been 18, and she stayed to take care of me. My dad is works 2 full-time jobs at night as a paramedic. So he didn't have a lot of time to take care of us, so my sister would stay home and take care of us at like 18 to 20, because those were the years that I believe I have. There were a couple times DIFUS would come. I do remember sitting in the basement being interviewed by a DIFUS employee. Does your mom hit you? Does this? Obviously I'm like, fuck no, she's a great lady. Just because my mom and my sister would get into physical fights a lot. One time someone pushed someone down the stairs. I don't know, a lot of stuff. But basically when my mom came back from jail, she was very involved in my life. She would tell me about how my sister didn't like me. She always wanted a little brother. She didn't want me. She didn't want a little sister, and she loved my brother so much more than me. And those were the facts that I had gotten. I'd grown up with from probably when my mom got back to 13 years old is what I thought of my sister. And truthfully, my sister wasn't there. She wasn't there to back this up because, she was fighting with my mom. So how was I supposed to know that these things were wrong or whatever? I'm obviously believing my mom. I'm a child, and I don't know if she's a bad lady. To me, she's my mom. Another thing about my mother, she is disabled. She has lung issues, kidney issues, anything under the sun. She's got she could still get up and walk around, but she, growing up, probably from 5 to 13, she was consistently in the hospital for weeks at a time. And then she would come home and yell at us and scream at us and be like, I'd rather be at the hospital. They care about me there. Just old classic manipulated things. When she was gone for those long stretches of time, a lot of the time it was up to me to make dinner for my family, my brother and my dad. I took care of them. I cleaned the house. These are things that 10-year-olds should not be doing at all. My brother growing up was extremely depressed. My dad was always working. A lot of it just fell onto me, even though I'm the youngest, and my sister wasn't there. So what are we gonna do? When I got to high school, COVID started, right? But specifically, I started working, and I needed a bank account, right? My mom set up a bank account with me, and then a lot of the times she would take my money and do whatever she wanted with it. She also, growing up, would try to put me in modeling and acting and stuff, and I did cheerleading, doing all this stuff, and I never saw a dime of that. I did a lot of modeling and stuff, and I never saw any of that money. All right, we're gonna go to part 2, and then we'll actually start talking about my sister and my money. Part 2, how did my sister steal $6,000 of my dollars, and how did she convince the rest of my family that I'm in the wrong? Part 1, I kind of gave context as to who my family is and what we have grown up around. Now I'm in high school, and my sister had gotten me a job. I already had 2 jobs at this point. I quit one of them because it was an ice cream shop and I was getting really fat, and I started working with my sister at this place. At that point, my sister was like, your mother is stealing all your money. She's a manipulative bitch. Like, you need to open up a new account. But I was still in high school, so with her, I opened up a Chase high school account. For some reason, she had convinced me that I was bad with money. I don't ever think I've been bad with money, but in her eyes, I was bad, and she was an adult, so therefore, I must be bad with money. Right, so she has access to my checking account. So what would happen is I would get a paycheck, she would take out some money and put it into a savings that I had no access to because I was bad with money. I don't know for a fact that this was a separate savings account that was not linked to her savings account. There were a couple times where she would have her phone up, she would have her bank app up, and I would only see one savings account like on the Chase app. So I'm pretty sure she was combining the savings she was the money she was taking from my paychecks and putting them in her savings account. After high school, I went to college in New York City. I live in New Jersey, so it wasn't hard for me to come home on weekends sometimes and work a little bit. But I would try to save up enough during the summer so that while I was at school, I didn't have to work at all and I could just use the money that I've had saved up. Obviously, that's not the best way to save money, and I probably should have just gotten a job at school, but when I'm living with my parents and my dad has been paying for my school at this point, I'm not thinking anything of it. So pretty much for my freshman and sophomore year, that's what would happen. I would work in the summer, I would go to school, and if I needed money, I would text my sister, I'd say, hey, I need some money, I'm running out of money, I need to eat, I need this, I need that. Can you send it to me? And then she would send me the money from my savings. There. It should be noted, I never really got clear answers when I would ask her things like, how much money is in my savings? It's always like, I think like $1,400. Like, it was never really a clear answer. So whatever, sophomore year comes and goes. I'm not living in New York for my junior year. A whole thing, my mom goes into a coma, I come home, she's not really herself. It's too much to get an apartment. I just stay home and I commute. The good thing about being home, though, is I don't need money from my savings anymore because I can just work. Something I should note, and please keep in mind, I'm like freshly 18 and this is my sister. Sometimes when she would take the money out of my account and put it in a savings, it would say it was going to a checking account instead of a savings account. Should I have caught on earlier? Yes! Yes! But I didn't. So the past is the past. So whatever, we're going into my junior year. I didn't have a great summer. One of my jobs didn't have a lot of opportunity to make a lot of money, but it was fine because I was staying at home. I'm living with my parents. What do I need to make a lot of money for? Plus, at this point, I have a beautiful boyfriend who is spending a lot of money on me. So you would think, oh my God, my savings has to be stacked. Because I'm like looking at some of these statements from Chase. I would make like a $1,000 paycheck, like $1,200. She would take out like $900 and leave me with $300, which is fine. Fine. But there should be a lot of money in there. What I haven't done yet, but I will do eventually, is go through all of the bank statements from since I got this account and just highlight every single time money has been taken out of my account or money has been put into my account, just to figure out what the exact total would be. So whatever, junior year, 2025, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, all that comes. Now it's 2026, Valentine's Day coming up, my boyfriend's birthday. I spend a good amount of money, but it's fine because I'm still having money taken out of my account and going into a savings. I don't know what happened to my sister in the span of the 6 months prior to February 2026, but in that time, she had started 2 new jobs, and by February, I was pretty sure she had no job. She would never tell me when she lost a job, but she'd be posting on her Instagram story, like, during the workday, doing God knows what, usually spending money, and I would kind of just assume that she was not working. So whatever, I'm dating a finance guy, I'm almost 21 years old. It's weird that I don't have access to my savings. And at this point, I had been working on my credit for about a year because I knew I was going to have to apply for loans for my last year of college because I knew my dad wasn't going to be able to because his credit is so bad. Everyone in my family has terrible credit. My mom, my dad, my sister. My sister claims that her credit is fucked up because my mom was opening up credit cards in her name. Who knows if that's the truth? I'm still kind of jumping around, but also my brother that's 2 years older than me, he lives in Colorado. He moved a year ago, and he keeps losing his job as well. Going to part 3. Part 3, why the fuck did my sister steal $6,000 from me, and how did she convince my family that I'm in the wrong? So it's February and I'm with my sister, we're at work, and I say, hey, I'm thinking of opening up a high yield savings account, like what do you think? And I'm asking her because again, she's convinced me I'm bad with money, she is good with money, is this a good option is what I'm asking her. She is kind of just like, yeah, good idea, whatever, and we move on. Now I'm going to be pulling up text from my laptop just to get the story straight. Reminder, I have been living at home for this past year. I have not asked for money from my savings in about a year. Friday, March 6, 2026. Question. I just opened the high yield savings account. Would you be able to send me some of the money from my savings to put in it? She says, give me a couple. I say, KK. She says, because I put it in an account that no one could touch until July, so I have to call Chase. What the fuck? Already wrong. Wrong. You put it in an account that no one can touch. You were the only one that could touch it in the first place. That no one can touch until July. My savings, my emergency fund you put in an account that's locked up. What? Now I'm very reasonable. I am so reasonable. She gives me a call. Now we're on the phone. And she's telling me she put it in an IRA. In a retirement fund? You put my money in a retirement fund opened in your name? Honestly, I give her too much grace. I'm upset that my money is locked up. But again, I'm at home. I don't need that money technically. And I don't have any feeling of impending doom coming up that I'm going to need the money for. There was a little bit where we weren't sure if I was going to be able to pay for that semester of college, but we figured it out. So again, March, we're on the phone, and she's telling me she put it in an IRA, and she's going to have to call Chase, and she doesn't know when she's going to be able to take out the money. Somehow, between March 6th and March 10th, my life kind of went to shit. My headlight was busted. I had to go to the ER because I had some shit on my finger, and then my dad couldn't pay the phone bill that month, so I had to chip in. 4 days after my sister tells me she's locked up my savings, she texts me, dude, you gotta watch your account. This is the third time your account is negative, and it's taken from my account so you don't overdraft. I explain to her all the things I just say, and then I leave it with, doesn't help, I have no access to my savings right now. She tells me to start putting money in the new savings that I have opened up. Tuesday, March 31st, 7:39 a.m. Borrowing $200, putting it back on Friday. Our office manager messed up my check by a lot. This is a common occurrence where I'll wake up and there's money out of my account and I have no explanation. I have to ask her, say, hey, why'd you take this? And she'll be like, I'm putting it back soon. I just needed it. So my money's her money, her money's her money. What's happening? Friday, April 10th, I text her, can I get my $200 back? Because surprise, surprise, I didn't get it back that Friday that she said I was going to get it. She didn't respond. Sunday, April 12th, where's my $200? No response. Wednesday, April 15th, my dog has some sort of muscle spasm medical episode and I have to rush him to the emergency vet. That vet bill is $679. Then another $250 later because they wanted to test his urine a little bit more. He's fine, he has some sort of movement disorder, and they suggest I start putting him on gluten-free dog food, which is like $60 for a bag. So I'm out $900. Not the dog's fault. I love the dog. I'm glad he's okay. But wouldn't it be so helpful if I had my savings? I was texting her about the dog, and I said, $679 for the vet. She said, that's expensive. I said, right, let me get my $200. She says, give me a minute. I don't get it. Another sort of side plot that will come up. My birthday was Memorial Day weekend. At this point, it's like April. I mentioned to her how I'm thinking about getting an Airbnb in the Jersey Shore for my birthday. And then she tells me that her and her friends can get me a hotel in Atlantic City. Awesome. Thanks. Let me know when you book it. So I spend those next 2 months being like, hey, did you book it? Did you book it? Doesn't get booked till like a week before my birthday. I'm like kind of bothering her about this because if she wasn't going to book the hotel or she couldn't spend the money because she doesn't have a job, if she couldn't do that, that would have been fine. She just had to tell me, but she ended up booking it a week before my birthday. Then letting me know that I'm not getting a birthday present because that's my birthday present. Fine, that's cool. Whatever, my birthday is a mess. I spend it with my boyfriend. I'm happy, it's fine. Thursday, June 4th, I text her, do you know when you're getting my savings back? She says, let me call now, sorry, in a meeting. Every time I asked her about this savings, she told me she had to call Chase Bank to understand when she was going to get that money. Somewhere in this timeline, she has called me and told me that I'm getting my money back in June. Before, she texted July, earlier back in March when I asked, but then at some point over the phone she had said June. Then she had called and given me a date of June 30th. On June 8th, I text her, how much is in my savings that I'll get on June 30th? I need to know because I have to pay for school. She says, I'm at work, give me a little. I say, okay. Next part 4, now we're locked in, guys. Part 4, how did my sister steal $6,000 from me and how did she convince my family that I'm the villain? We made it, guys, we made it. We'll go back a little. June 8th, I text her, how much is in my savings that I'll get on June 30th? I need to know because I have to pay for school. She says, I'm at work, give me a little. I say, okay. At this point, in order to register for fall classes, I need to pay my school $5,800 and I don't have it. I talk it over with my boyfriend. He offers to loan me some of the money and then the rest I'll put on a credit card. He loans me $3,000. I put $2,000 something on my credit card. It's fine because I'm supposed to be getting all of my savings back June 30th. Now I'm fucking hype. My school is paid for. I'm going to school in the fall. This is going to be awesome. I'm going to get paid the money from my savings before it even reports anything to the credit bureau. This is awesome. Everything about my savings has been so wishy-washy and unsure. Every person I've spoken to about this savings and this IRA that she has my money in, like, no one believes that there's money. No one believes that she has it. No one believes that it's locked up. The running theory is that she needed my savings. She has been using my savings to get by. There was 1 month that she couldn't pay rent. She's been using my savings to get by, and she keeps pushing back the date in order to get a new job and build up the money that she owes me. After a couple calls, she tells me I'm getting it June 30th. She tells me that she tells me 5.9 thousand is how much is in there. Do I think it's 5.9? Do I think it might be a little bit more? Yeah, I think it might be a little bit more. But any money that will pay off this credit card at this point, fine. I just do not want it to get reported to the credit bureau that I owe you $2,000 something and I'm using about 70% of my fucking credit limit. Remember, my sister couldn't pay rent. She is now moving into a friend's basement. She has a job. She officially has a new job. So 2 days ago, June 29th, I text her. The savings is coming out tomorrow, ? June 30th. She says, no, what are you talking about tomorrow? I said September. Oh, my heart stopped. My heart stopped. I'm driving and my heart stopped. I go, what the fuck are you talking about? She's at work. She calls me. She goes, I never said September. And I say, you have to be joking with me right now. I'm driving. You have to be trolling me. You always said June. You always said June. You let me say June 30th. I always thought it was June 30th. You always said June. She's like, no, I never said June. I always said September. Now you're pissing me off because now you're trying to gaslight me and trying to change the narrative. You said June. I go off. My friend is in the passenger seat. This is connected to my car. I'm screaming at her. I say, don't fucking talk to me until I get my money. You're actually pissing me off. This is not anything. We opened this account together because mommy was stealing my money and now you have stolen my money and I do not have it. This is ridiculous. Do not talk to me until I get my money back. And I hang up. This is the text I receive. For everything I do for you, and I have it written down, is ridiculous for a spoiled brat that consistently gets their ways, constantly gets their way numerous times. I have it written down. You hear what you want to hear. That's the thing. You are worse than mommy. I text her. I say, show me my money. Because still, I have no proof that she has this 5.9 that she has told me. And now, who even knows if it's 5.9 because she was lying about the date. Now she's lying about the money. Who knows where this fucking money is? I say, show me my money. Her. No, because it's fuck you. Now you don't want to talk to me until September since you want to say all that shit. Goodbye. I'll give you it when it releases and you can stay out my life. Have them help you with everything. Our aunt was right. I should have stopped doing things for you years ago. And to think I'm the one still trying to get you on her good side because she thinks you're like both of them, my parents. And I've told them you're not. Do you how upsetting it is for no one wanting to invite you guys because of our outside? Quick break. My dad's side of the family does not like my mom. They've never liked my mom because of the way that she is. And they're not too happy with my dad right now just because he never goes to see them. He didn't go to Christmas. He doesn't go to see my grandma. And she's like super old and not there. Whatever. back to this. And I have to deal with it all the time because you've become so ungrateful because I've allowed you to treat me this way, the only one in your goddamn corner. Multiple exclamation points. I didn't get my ass abusive so much by mommy, so you didn't get an inch of what she did to me to be an ungrateful ass person. And you know it's my fault. It's the age difference. I should have figured she'd slow down, but all the abuse I gotten do you and my brother would live a better life is crazy. How every time you don't get your way or mishear something and I'm the one that gets this. So I'm done. I will block you and that's it. I hate to do this. Part 5. There's more text. Guys. Part 5, hopefully last part, of how did my sister steal $6,000 from me and how did she convince my family that I'm the wrong. So we just got this big long text from her about how when I yelled at her and I told her not to speak to me until I get my money, she sent this whole long text about how she was getting abused by my mother to try and protect us and how she did all this stuff for us and blah, 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 us being me and my older brother, and that she's going to block me and that's done. I text back. I say, do not block me, period. I need proof you have my money, please. Then I sent her a screenshot of a text that I sent where I said how much money is in my savings that I'll get on June 30th. And then she said I'm at work. She didn't correct me. And then she said, you text June 30th. I said September face to face. Never said September, never said September. So at this point, it's been about 30 minutes since the phone call where I yelled at her. Now, I called my brother right after that, and then he didn't answer, and now he's calling me. I answer, I go, I need to kill your sister. And he goes, if you don't stop being so immature right now, you need to calm the fuck down. Oh, now you're done. Now you've got me fucking pissed off because you're immediately taking her fucking side. More context. We all live in New Jersey. My brother moved to Colorado. He keeps losing his job because he has anger issues. He had to move out of his apartment because of a problem with a roommate. So he has now signed a new lease. He has no job. He just got fired again on Friday because of his anger issues. And now you're calling me, telling me I need to calm the fuck down and I'm being immature? At least I can keep a job. Whatever. I'm on the phone with him probably for about 45 minutes trying to get him. I'm like, please, you need to hear my side. You both are making me feel crazy. I need you to listen to me and I'm going to lay out all the facts. I need you to step outside from being her brother for a second and think logically. What IRA do you know that you put money in February and you can't take it out until September? Oh my God, like my cheeks are getting flushed, I'm getting angry again. Like just think for 2 seconds. I also, at this point, have never seen proof. Never seen proof she has this money, it's locked up, never seen anything. I'm explaining all this to him and he sometimes would go quiet. I could tell he was like texting her while I was explaining things to him. And I was telling him, I was like, I still have not even seen any proof that she has this money. I asked her for proof. She refused to give it to me. And I'm telling him this. And he's like, I'll get you proof. I'll figure it out. So he tells me, he's like, all right, I have proof here. It says it's in an IRA account and that you can't get it until September 18th. And I go, send me that shit right now. I get sent this. $5,018. She told me 5.9. Down here, September 18th, 2026 is earliest release date. That's what I get sent. I believe this. It's cropped weird, whatever. I believe that this is a screenshot from an IRA account that only has $5,000 in it and its earliest release date is September 18th. My friends, my boyfriend don't really believe. They think it's AI. They think it's, I think it's real. So whatever, there's probably another 30 minutes of me just arguing with my brother, begging him to believe me. He keeps being like, you both need to admit your mistakes. And I'll sit there, I'll be like, list my mistakes quickly. Every mistake that I have made to her. Or he'll be like, she does so much for you. I asked him, I said, what has she done for me in the past 6 months that has been financially beneficial? He was like, well, I don't know. Then he's texting her and she's like, oh, she paid for my nails. She hasn't paid for my nails since last year. Also, a gift, a favor. Never forced her to do that. Every time she asked me to pay for my nails because money was tight, I did. And the hotel for my birthday, again, a gift. Didn't realize accepting that meant that she could steal $5,000 from me. And I think what's pissing me off the most is that neither of them realize how wrong it is to take my money and lock it up for months at a time without asking or even telling me. I only know this happened because I asked for my money. It's also important to mention about my brother, there was a point where I asked him and I said, hey, tell me right now, does she owe you any money? And he sat in silence for a little bit. And he said, no. And I said, are you being honest with me? And he said, yes. And that's when I knew that that conversation was going to go nowhere and he was going to take her side no matter what, because I know for a fact she owes him $3,000. That conversation with him ended with him being like, you both need to sit down and admit your mistakes. No. The mistakes I made were trusting her with my money. Was it nice on that phone call for me to yell at her and tell her to not speak to me until September and that she's doing the same thing that mommy did? That was rude. Yes, it wasn't wrong. At that point, my brother's gone, my sister's gone. These two people are fucking ridiculous, and if this is how they want to be, so be it. My extended family is much closer to my sister than I am, especially my dad's mom and his sister and brothers. They are all very close with my sister because she would go over and take care of my grandma, and my sister would always yell at me and be like, you need to talk to them more, you need to do this, like, they would do so much more for you if you spoke to them. Which, phone works both ways. Like, I was in high school. You're mad at me because in high school I wasn't driving up 45 minutes to go hang out with my grandma who doesn't know who I am. I just know she's spewing some insane things to them about what I've done, where she already said that, like, my aunt said she should stop doing things for me years ago. Which, truthfully, I cannot rack my brain and figure out what the things she has done for me that have been beneficial to me. That wasn't a gift or wasn't her just being a good sister. Like, when we were growing up, I took care of my brother. I took care of my father. I would make them dinner. I would wake up my brother on time for school. I would do these things. I would clean the house. I would never, if I got into a fight with my brother, I would never be like, everything I did for you when you were depressed in high school, when you were depressed in middle school, all this stuff I did for you. Never do that. That is rude. I did that because I'm a good sister. I did that because if I didn't, we would have went hungry. We would have been in a dirty, sticky house. Whatever. After all this, I called up my dad. He told me, he was like, listen, I hate to say I told you so, but I mentioned, and he did. He let me know that it was not a good idea, and every single time there was something with money with her, he told me, he was like, you need to get your money out. And, I tried, just like a month or two too late. So the last text I have from my sister. You're lucky I have my brother to calm me down, but I'm blocking you until the time being. I don't like the way you treat me, and I will not tolerate it anymore. Thank you for dealing with her dog. You have your boyfriend. You are set. Please enjoy your life like you want. I will no longer be a part of it. I have another part where I'll explain like my complete thoughts on this, but this is just the end of that because, I haven't spoken to her. And who knows if I ever will. She does keep posting on her Instagram story because, like, we still follow each other. But she does keep posting, like, shady things on her Instagram story, which is, like, by the way, 35 years old. By the way, she posted something where it was like, I'll cut you off and block you. I wonder if I have a screenshot. I'll cut you off and never look back. Bruh. Enough. 35 years old. Get a life. Whatever.
Woke up early for therapy just to find an email from my therapist canceling on me last minute, but baby girl said, yeah, it's Swiftmas morning. You literally have therapy tonight. Taylor Swift is coming out with an album. You don't need to talk to me.
Part 1 of finding out my best friend was having an affair with my husband, now ex-husband. Okay, I'm gonna start at the beginning. Well, the beginning of the end. The day that I asked for a divorce. It was 4th of July. One of my best friend's sisters was having a 4th of July party. I had already signed up to work overtime. I worked at the jail. It was double time. I was going in. I was there. One of her other sisters called me and was like, Brittany, you need to be here. This is family time. It's more important than money. So I said, okay, don't tell nobody. I'm going to try to leave work and I'll try to come. So I talked to my boss. I left, whatever. I get there. As I get there, I walk in the backyard and my ex-husband has my best friend up in the air. He's holding her by the legs up in the air, like celebrating. I guess they had just won a game of cornhole. Cool. I don't think anything of it. Whatever. I walk over and they're like, oh my God, you're here. Blah, blah. After that,
her sister that was throwing the party came over and was like, hey, do you care if I tackle your husband? And I was like, sure, whatever. Mind you, she's in a big baggy shirt and like some biker shorts or something. Not a problem. She tackles him, they get up. The end. Not the end. It actually gets progressively worse. She then goes inside, changes into a thong bikini. I think it's fair to add that she is like body T, like body, like she's got a nice body. She walks outside. She pulls him over to this like makeshift slipping slide situation that they have going on, and he's just in like basketball shorts, and they proceed to wrestle on the slipping slide for like a good 30 minutes. Like, they're going at it. Like, he's on his back, she's on top of him, ass in his face, like flipping around, doing all these things. Everybody's just kind of like watching, like in shock. Her fiance is there, it's his house. He's up in the corner like pouting, like obviously upset. Everybody is. I look over at my best friend and the bitch was mad, like furious mad. And in my mind, I'm like, what a good friend. Like, you're so mad on my behalf. I love that. She was not. She was mad on her own behalf. She was mad for herself. She didn't care about me. So they get done. He walks over to where I'm at and he is joking, like, not just to me, like to a group of people, about how slippery it was. So slippery that his finger went inside of her. Yes, that's what he says. At this point, we'd already been having some issues. This was like my breaking point. Like, I already knew what I was doing when I got home. Like, I already knew. We continue the night. I'm not trying to make a scene. There was a photo thing that happened that made her, like my best friend's husband, because her husband and my husband were best friends too. That made him decide like that he was not going to be his friend anymore. I guess during a picture, my ex like squeezed my best friend's waist in like a intimate way. So her husband ends up saying like, I'm not going to be friends with somebody who A, disrespects his wife in the way that you do, or who oversteps with my own wife. So they stopped being friends. Like that night, like after we left, or a couple of days later. I can't remember exactly when all that went down. But we get home after the 4th of July and I'm obviously like pissed. I've been trying to hold this in all night, not to ruin like our children's time. But I give him my ring and I said, you're a disrespectful fuck. You're nasty. Like, who do you think you are to do that? It's embarrassing as hell. Gave him my ring and said, I want a divorce. Like, you are not a person I want to be married to. Mind you, this is before I even knew about the affair. How I didn't know, looking back, delusion, I guess. That's part one. Buckle up, like, it's gonna be a rough ride. I truly was delusional. I was delusional. That's all there is to it. I was delusional. I trusted her so much. Nobody could ever convince me that there was something going on. Even when people came to me with proof and she denied it. At first I believed her. I trusted her so damn much. You could not convince me until the proof smacked me in my face and I was like, all right, okay. So, part one, 100 to come. Part two. There's some more that I'm going to post that happened right before the 4th of July, but I'm just going to go ahead and post this. So, this is after the 4th. We've done separated. So I'd say from July 4th until this happened, this was, let me check the date, August 30th of 22. So we're separated. We're still living together. You know, we have 5 kids together. I'm trying to navigate all that. So August 30th, I think the day before, or maybe a couple of days before, within that week, my ex-husband and a brother-in-law of my best friend, former best friend, went to a Bengals game together, like a preseason game. During that game, my ex-husband was drunk, like drunk, and I guess was bragging about the affair. He was showing pictures. I guess he had like one of those fake calculator apps that like held pictures and things. I have no idea how those work. I don't know. But he opened it up and there's pictures of them kissing, pictures of them in bed together, nudes being sent back and forth, yada, 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 yada. He also, my ex, told the brother-in-law that they had a separate Live 360. So me, my best friend had a Live 360. Me and my ex-husband had a Live 360. And then they had one together so that they knew who was with me, so they knew when they could call and talk and all the things. The brother-in-law said that he visibly seen my best friend text my ex and say, hey, I'm with Brittany right now, don't text back, I'll text you when we're not together anymore. I'm gonna insert the text messages that my ex-husband sent to this brother-in-law post game. Blue messages are the brother-in-law. So on the right side, the left side, the black messages are my ex-husband. Here they are. I am going to redact names. So after the brother-in-law told me all of this, I was at work. He started texting me because I worked at a jail night shift, but I also worked at like a home health agency as an HR during the day. So I worked 2 full-time jobs. So I was at the office job when he texted me and started telling me things. Then he FaceTimed me. This is a grown-ass man crying, FaceTiming me, telling me all this. He sent me the messages. I got off the phone with him and I called her. I called my best friend. She denied it. That's not true. And I believed her. I believed her. I then got phone with her, called my ex-husband. He didn't answer because he was on the phone with her. She got the phone with me and called him too. He finally calls me back. It's not true, it's not true, da 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 da. I ended up leaving work early, going home. He and I talked. He said all that had happened between the two of them was they were at the gym together one day. He was boo-hoo crying about our divorce, blah, blah, blah. She was comforting him. He leaned in for a kiss. She backed away, said, no, we can't do that. I don't feel that way about you. That was it. He says that's all it was. He told me that the pictures that was in his phone was simply like pictures that they had taken throughout the years at functions, things off of Facebook, and he was convincing himself that he was in love with her so that he wouldn't be so hurt about losing me. I did not. I believed that they didn't do anything. I believed that the brother-in-law misunderstood, something about what my ex-husband was showing him, because I believed her. That she said nothing happened. I believed her. But the almost kiss was to me like, no, I won't be with you. Like, you tried to kiss my best friend after the 4th of July stuff, I'm cool on you. That's it. So, that was the first time somebody came to me and said, hello, open your fucking eyes, you dumb bitch. And I said, what? I don't see nothing. Like a dumbass. Okay, part 3. All right, this happened. So we're after the football game. So after that happened, the brother-in-law and the sister were moving out of their apartment, and they offered me to move into their apartment and just take over, like, paying the rent. So that's what I did. I moved in there for a while, but then once they found out that I was still friends with my best friend, they said, you gotta go. So then I moved in with my best friend. During all this, I'm trying to get my own place. I didn't have the best credit, so it was hard. So I moved in with my best friend. We're supposed to be going to a Dixie Chick concert. The night of the concert, I forget why, I ended up not going. And so it was my best friend, her 2 aunts who are like our age, and her mom, and I think somebody else ended up going. And while they were gone, one of my good friends called me. Now, she's a friend that was also friends with my ex-husband. So she calls me and she was like, what are you doing right now? And I was like, oh, just sitting here, whatever, blah, blah, blah. She was like, your ex and I just went to dinner. And I'm like, oh, but it wasn't like that. He just was bored and wanted to go to dinner. And so she said, sure. So they go to dinner, and while they're at dinner, he's telling her all the same things he told the brother-in-law. And she said that she's seen my best friend text him and say, I miss you so much. I wish you were here. I wish you could pick me up from this concert. Da, 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 da. She's got no proof, though. And I need proof, apparently. I need it smacked in my face. So she's telling me all of this, whatever. When my best friend gets home, I ask her about it. Actually, I think I texted her before she got home. Let me go check. Yes, I did. I texted her before she got home and told her what was said. Of course, she denied it. And of course, my dumbass believed her. I thought that my ex was just doing the shit that he did before and just trying to make it seem more than it was. She then got home. We talked more. The next day she called my ex and cussed him out and da-da-da-da-da-da, all these things. And of course he's denying it to her. He's saying, I didn't tell her that, blah, blah, blah. Did she just make this up? To myself and to him? I don't know. But yeah, I believed her that she didn't do this. Please don't tell me how fucking stupid I am. Please. I will insert the messages between me and my best friend. My old best friend. Part 4. This happened actually before the 4th of July, before I asked for a divorce. Okay, so I was working a night shift and a day shift, right? I was off of the day shift job, and the 3 of us, me, my ex-husband, and the best friend, used to all go to the gym together every morning. When I started working both of these jobs, I stopped going, but they still went. I already know what you guys are thinking, just... Anyways, so this morning I was not that tired after getting off work, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go surprise them and show up. Surprise! I checked both of their locations. Best friend's location is turned off, which she sometimes did if her and her husband were fighting. He didn't have Life 360, but her children did. So if they were fighting and she left, he would ask the kids like where she was at. So I just assumed it was that. But my ex-husband's location said that he was at the gym. So I get to the gym, and it's a small gym-ish, smallish, and it's early in the morning, so the parking lot's not that full, and I don't see either car there. So I was like, well, maybe I just overlooked it. So I go inside, I check in. Remember that part, I check in to the gym, and I do a lap around the gym, and I don't see them. So I do a second lap, and then a third lap. They're not there. So I start calling them. Both of their phones are going straight to voicemail. So then I was like, I did a drive around the parking lot. I don't see their cars. Should have just drove across the street. Anyways, so I drive to her house. She just lived right up the road. Her car's not there either. So I call her husband. I was like, where is best friend? He said, at the gym. I said, well, I'm just gonna let you know now. No, she's not. She's not there. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I was just at the gym. She's not there. Her location's turned off. She's not there. And I got off the phone. Okay, so then I'm driving back to the gym. As I'm coming down the road of the gym, she's coming the opposite direction. Okay? So, at this, probably a couple seconds after she sees me, she calls me. She's like, what are you doing? And I was like, well, what are you doing? And I explained the whole situation. I was like, I can't fucking believe you. Like, what the fuck? Get off the phone with her. Call my ex-husband. His phone's still going to voicemail. Get to the gym. He's not there. He finally calls me as she's blowing up my phone. I'm gonna see if I can find those messages. And then if I can, I'll insert them. He's blowing up my phone. Or she's blowing up my phone. He finally calls me. And I explained it to him, and he was like, pause, rewind. I missed a court part. Called the gym. They know us on a first name basis because we were there every single day. And I said, hey, did so-and-so check in today? They said, let me check. No, they had not. Okay. So now I know that they were not there, right? Because you have to check in when you get there. And they know us. Anyways, I asked him, where are you at? He said, just left the gym. I said, no, you didn't. He said, yes, I did. I said, no, the fuck, you didn't. I just called the gym. I was just at the gym. You were not there. He's like, well, maybe I was in the tanning bed when you got there. I said, well, where the fuck was your car? He said, I don't know, maybe you didn't see it. I said, did you check in for the tanning bed? No. Why? Because their machines broke down. That's funny because it worked for me. And so I got off the phone with him, called the gym back, asked them, was your machine down at any time? No, it was not. Called him back. The machine was never down. So what are you talking about? Where the fuck were you? Where were you? Later would come out that they were across the street in the church parking lot, fucking in my car. My car. Let me see if I can find these screenshots. Part 5, this is probably gonna be the last one for today. We'll have to get back into it tomorrow. So, I'm living with my best friend and her husband, yeah? Her husband randomly tells me, like, you need to move out, like, today. So, I move in with my aunt. I stayed there for, like, 2 weeks before I got my own place. Don't worry, I'm not a bum. So, I move out. I'm at work one night, and he calls me. So I answer it, and I'm like, what's up? Like, this is weird. He just kicked me out 2 days ago. But he's like, I just thought you should know. I can tell he's pissed. I just thought you should know best friend and husband have been talking. And I was like, okay. He's like, no, you don't understand. They've been talking like every single day, all day long. As soon as I leave for work, they're on the phone. And they stay on the phone all day. He's got cameras all throughout his house. He's like, so she gets in her car and drives around town just to talk to him on the phone. He's like, I pulled her phone records. They are never not on the phone. And I was like, okay. He's like, I asked her about it. She said that they're just talking because, like, trying to figure out things with you, blah, 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 blah. He's like, but I know it's more. Like, you don't stay on the phone with somebody for 9 straight hours to figure out something with somebody else. Like, that doesn't even make sense. So I get off the phone with him. I think I text her or call her. I'm gonna have to go back and try to find these messages and see like how this went down. But her and I end up meeting up the next day or the following day, and she tells me straight up, yeah, I have feelings for him. I was like, well, you need to unhave feelings for him? What do you mean? What do you mean you have feelings for him? And she's like, yeah, I think I'm falling in love with him. And that is when I officially knew that something was going on. This was the beginning of November. So all of this kind of started in June with the gym thing. I left him in July, moved out in August, I think. Moved out of like living with him at the end of August, I believe. And then at the beginning of November, I want to say it was November 2nd, is when it was confirmed that they did have feelings for each other. I'm gonna see if I can find any screenshots from around that time, and if I can, I'll insert them. If not, then sorry. I'm actually gonna try to go back and find some pictures of the two of them together. I'm gonna obviously put something over their faces just so you guys can see how close they were and just playing in everybody's face. It was wild. It was a wild time. I even had her family, like her mom and dad, her sisters, her aunts, her cousins, everybody saying they are too close. Her and her dad actually got into a huge fight about it because he walked into the house and she's like leaning up against the counter and he's like over her and he freaked out, made him leave her house and everything. Like they played in everybody's face. Well, I guess just mine and her husband's face, because we just trusted them so much. Like, you cannot convince us that it was not normal how close we all were, because we were all so close. We were together 7 days a week. Our 5 kids, their 4 kids, we were always together. She was either at our house or we were at their house every single day, always.